Good morning, Rob and Alistair. Thank you very much for coming to join me on the Insurance Brokers podcast today. It's really exciting to have you here, and we don't often do sort of three-way conversations, so I'm quite excited to have you both on.
Thanks for having us, Sarah.
Fabulous. So I'm going to give a broad overview. You guys are from Momentum, which I'm sure many people have heard of. I wonder if, Rob, you'd like to give us a little bit about your history, how you come to be where you are, what your kind of aspirations are.
Well, I'm a Momentum appointed representative, so I have my own business, Sona Insurance Brokers, and also Positive Insurance Solutions. So I have two ARs actually with Momentum for two different reasons. But my background is 32 years as an insurance broker. So I started humbly in 1988, straight from school, went to work for a broker called Bain Clarkson that became Bain Hogg, that became Aon eventually. And I had a very good career with those guys, about 20 years, then spent a couple of years in the city, and then came up to Ipswich to work for 9 years with an independent broker. And in more recent times, got tempted to work for a broker called Towergate that I'm sure a few of your listeners have heard for. That didn't really go so well for me, but it did give me the confidence to say, you know what, I can do this my way. And so I've had Momentum really support me in running now for what is nearly 12 months. So 1st November I started, and I've had a really successful year. I never thought it would go as well as this. So I'm in a very happy place.
That's incredible, particularly given what the last 6 months of the last 12 months have been. So well done you.
Well, yeah, I have to say, I thought it had fallen off a cliff in March. I was just like, what on earth's going to happen? And I had a few things on the go where prospects said to me, look, Rob, I don't know where I am, so I don't know how you can do your job. And I thought, oh no, because at Easter time, I thought this is pretty poor. You know, it's not going to go well now. But actually, it's picked up really well. I think there's a certain thing around uncertainty that helps us brokers, and that would probably be, I'd say that's been true throughout the economic cycles. You know, when things get a little tougher, there's more opportunity, I think. So
I would agree. Opportunity versus challenge are two sides of the same coin, which is something I seem to say a lot in these podcasts. Alistair, would you like to introduce yourself and give us a bit of your career history and background?
Yeah, I'm Alistair, Broker Development Director here at Momentum Broker Solutions. I've been with Momentum for about 4 years now. Prior to that, principally in broker development roles, working for insurers. Been working in the industry now for about 25 years. A scary thought. With the last 17 of those been in the UK. Before that, I came across from a short stint in Australia, and obviously previously that's New Zealand, as the background shows.
I was going to say the background and the accent.
Yeah, it's a bit of a giveaway, unfortunately.
I don't know if you'd like to tell us, Alistair, a little bit about the current climate and what you're seeing with your network in terms of that, and then I'll ask the same question to you, Rob, and you can tell us a bit more about how awesome it's been.
Yeah, it's been an interesting, last 6 months for everybody in the UK since obviously COVID hit. But I think even before that, there's been a sort of fundamental shift to people looking at the opportunity of self-employment and thinking to themselves, do you know what, I can probably do this myself, and gaining a little bit more confidence and gaining some momentum and that sort of frame of mind. So really, it's quite an exciting and very, very developing sector at the moment. You know, when COVID did hit, we had a bit of a thought process that maybe everything will sort of grind to a halt, but it's been the complete opposite. There's been an absolute influx of opportunities and conversations being had, and people looking at what the future holds for them.
Just from our perspective at Boston Tullis, we've had a surprising amount of people coming to us to say, you know, I'm thinking about starting up. Where do I go? What's your advice? What are the kind of things I need to think through? Which is, again, surprising, but really interesting. What about you, Rob? How have you found year one with the added pressures of COVID and global potential economic crash?
Yeah, I think the thing is with the model as a broker, it's all about who you know. in terms not insurance industry. And I think that's a mistake people sometimes make if they've been an insurance broker for many years, i.e. more market facing than customer and business environment facing, then they're going to struggle. Whereas I've spent, quite a lot of the last sort of 15 years probably out there meeting customers, meeting businesses, networking, and I've done everything, every form of networking you can think of, from BNI to, and I'm currently in a network called Vistage, which is really good. And so I've built up a lot of friendships with people who have organizations that would make great clients for me. And I don't know whether I necessarily have done that consciously to get to this point, but that has paid dividends at this point because I'm the insurance bloke they know. And so they've picked up the phone to ask me questions about all manner of things. And I've had queries on credit insurance, which although I don't do, someone else in the Momentum network does, and they've been really helpful to me. Legal indemnities, again, not my thing, but another AR does that. And so, just becoming known as the insurance bloke to businesses is great. And as we've said, the economic uncertainty means that people are definitely a lot more inquisitive and actually are not taking the sort of risks that they were taking before. And I've had a few people who just haven't done things right, kind of known they haven't done it right, but now are doing the right thing, insuring things properly. I mean, I think, a lot of customers don't realize they do have options. One of the big options is not bothering to insure, but no one explicitly tells them that. And I think it's quite important that they get that kind of balanced perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. We one of the reasons that if you've listened to these podcasts, you'll have heard me talk about is exactly what you're saying with the Momentum community. Is it's bringing together a whole range of opinions, thoughts, career histories, decision making, mistakes, lessons learned from a whole range of people within the industry, which is designed to be a kind of a support development resource for insurance brokers because of the wealth of knowledge that sits within the industry as a whole. And I suppose that's what you've got within Momentum when you're just talking about credit insurance or indemnity insurance and the pitfalls within.
Yeah, it's just, I suppose just probably adding to that, it's about really understanding your own capabilities. So if we take the example of Rob, who's worked for a couple of brokerages in the last couple of years, there is, I suppose, an element of fear that a lot of people have when considering doing what Rob's done, about the fact that the client buys into the name above the door, as opposed to the individual that's doing the day-to-day job for the client and obviously giving them the quality of advice, support and service which they require. And I think probably one of the biggest barriers to people doing what Rob has done is about having the confidence in your own ability and the strength of your relationships and knowing that they will follow you and continue to support you.
One of the, completely agree with what you've said. And one of the recent podcasts that I think you've listened to was somebody that made the move to startup, but not from an account exec perspective, so had no book to pull over with them. What do you think of that in terms of, and he's doing really well, that's an added level of risk, pressure? What do you think?
That's really brave.
It is, isn't it? But he's done a phenomenal job.
Proper start from scratch. And you know what, I respect that, because you if you get out there and you do join organizations like BNI, Chambers of Commerce, Institute of Directors, even during COVID, I've been on hundreds of these Zoom calls to chat to lots of people who I don't necessarily know very well and make an introduction and follow up afterwards. You can do that. It's not as difficult as people might think. It's just that, you will find initially you will be dealing with a lot of one-man consultancy type style businesses, people in all manner of different areas like aromatherapy, you name it. But it doesn't matter. These are all good, potential clients, and you can build up a reasonable book. But it's the network beyond the people you meet in the networking groups that's kind of key. It's getting, there's a reason there's a one-man consultant doing well. It's because he's got a couple of really big clients. And if you can facilitate the introduction to those clients, then you will find that as a much more profitable way of working. But yeah, good luck to him. I mean, I think, yeah, very brave. But and part of me wonders if I should have had the confidence to do that years ago, and be further down the road now. But hey,
you've done it now, and you're 12 months in what is arguably one of the trickiest times of probably of anyone's life.
Yeah, and what's been interesting, this morning I was on a call to my first client talking about my first renewal, which was really nice. And he's been through all sorts of changes during the year. He's decided that the thing that I've been insuring for him, he's going to sell it, but he's going to sell it because he's going to buy a load of other things, because he's decided his lifestyle is now completely different, because he realized he can work from home and run all the companies that he's been running without actually being in an office. So now he's moving to a farm in Devon, and you know, where he's going to have almost a completely new structure of companies. And you think, well, and that's gone on a lot. People have done a lot of quite, you know, in a time of change, people are embracing the change. And for me, it means I get some more business. The chances are I might hang on to the stuff anyway that he's selling, and that just continues to feed, you know, the business machine.
I think you're right, and it just touches on something you said, Alistair, a moment ago about we're in a very developing economy, industry. There's a lot of change going on at the moment, and there has been, again, arguably for a number of years, when you talk about digital revolution and IT infrastructures and AI and algorithms, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But it feels to me that COVID's just put a massive fast forward on the changes that are happening, and the insurance industry isn't one that changes generally. If you look over, I mean, you can pick a few things over the last 100 years that have kind of changed the direction, but as a general rule, it doesn't change fast. But I'm seeing lots of innovative, thought-changing, business-changing developments going on in the market. What do you think of that?
I suppose from a momentum's perspective, I mean, obviously having an appointed representative model, everyone works remotely, so they have got the systems and the IT and infrastructure to do just that. I think as a general rule across the broking community that we deal with, they've responded incredibly well to what was originally a forced lockdown, the ability for them not to see clients and for them to start embracing the likes of Zoom and Teams, etc. So I think generally speaking, the insurance market has done very, very well in regards to adopting and adapting to change. You know, there's been some fantastic stuff which we've seen from some of our broker members where, you know, BNI or the equivalent networking groups have done incredibly well for them and continue to do incredibly well for them, despite not being able to see people face to face. The one thing which has become clearer and clearer over this period of time is the need to provide businesses with quality advice, being able to tell them what is and what isn't covered, and to give them some very tough messages at times, but clear messages in regards to how they can either deal with the lack of cover where BI didn't respond, and or make sure their business is resilient and they manage the risks that are brand new to them and to us, to be fair. To ensure that they continue to trade post the pandemic.
Two thoughts occur to me from what you've just said. So you've both mentioned networking events as being quite an important part of your sales strategy. And you've also, Rob, mentioned referrals and sort of the wider network from within the network. And Alistair, you've just mentioned getting that quality advice and information out to your clients and beyond prospects. What we're essentially talking about there is a sales and marketing. That's what that is. What kind of things are you seeing, or what kind of changes are you seeing within the Momentum Network, and you, Rob, within your the requirement of your buyers about how you get that information to them? Because networking and referrals is, you know, incredibly important source in relationship business, but there is a lot more that can be done and should be being done. What do you think those things are, and what are you seeing as the changes?
I think when it comes to probably goes back a step to when we start talking to people about starting their own brokerage. It's about the quality of business plan and understanding where you are going to get your income from and how you're going to generate that. If you look at some of the more successful brokers which we've got, they have got a very, very defined and clear strategy in regards to what they do in regards to the lead generation, and they will see anything between 20 and 50% of their income coming through that introducer network or networking groups. But I think there's still a little bit of hesitancy in some sectors of the broking world about really investing in those networking opportunities and those introducers, as opposed to just, yep, I can introduce your business and expecting it just to happen without providing the added value by return. So I think that's the bit where more and more people are getting better at, and the quality of content, dare I say it, or information to be shared is really, really critical to show that added value and advice.
Yeah, I think, if you're going to do something like this, you've got to get yourself a good plan. You've got to know because after this is an individual's business, so you've got to know yourself really well. And if you're much more comfortable going back to insurers and having those relationships, this isn't the world for you. But if you're more comfortable in the space that sits you in front of a client and allows you to build those relationships, then you do need to devise a very clear, unique selling point. What are the things that are going to make you different? It's quite difficult to differentiate yourself in the insurance broking market because there's thousands of us, isn't there? I mean, there are just a lot of us out there. But you'll have a reputation, you'll have a brand, and you need to play those cards strongly. Even though other people might be saying the same words, it doesn't mean that they're actually doing it that way. So I spent a lot of time through other brokers' websites to work out what mine should look like and how it should differentiate itself. And a lot of the words might seem the same, but if they're actually part of what you do and you consistently deliver that, and you can demonstrate that with case studies and the methodology used for working, then it doesn't take people long to realize that this isn't some kind of cover story. This is reality. And then they will tell other people that that's the way you do business. And I'm not sure necessarily, some people just jump in and think, it's going to be great and fine. But these kind of little details that are the foundation of your new enterprise are really important to think through in advance. And if you do that and you have a plan, you have your goals, then your confidence will continue to grow as you see it become reality. And I know that sounds a bit ethereal, your kind of thoughts become things type approach to life, but there is a certain truth to this. And I have to say, Alastair, he doesn't take compliments well, but he is very challenging when you arrive and say, right, okay, so what are you going to do and how are you going to do it? Because that's what Momentum need to know, because they're the guys who, for me, it's a perfect setup because all the broking is done for me by guys with great relationships with insurers. So I don't have to spend any time on that. All I have to do is interpret that into what the client needs to see and the options they want to understand. So in going through the Momentum process, we sat down and you can do it now by Zoom, but Alistair is challenging and saying, well, how are you actually going to do that? You've mentioned some numbers, and I've worked for big brokers, and you come up with numbers for new business and budgets and all that kind of stuff, and some of it you just think it's just pie in the sky, but that's the machinery, that's how it works. With these guys, it's very real. This is your money after all. How are you going to pay your mortgage and for your kids and stuff? It's got to have some substance to it. So my revenue line, when I look back at it, I've exceeded it very fortunately, because I suspect this year has been a good year to start a business. But they challenged me on my plan. They made sure that I was confident and they could see that I could deliver some of the figures. And that's not taking away from me being my own boss and management, but you do need someone. Every business, everyone needs a mentor, a coach of some sort, and guys who are going to say, yeah, how's that going to work?
I think the entrepreneurial journey is a lonely journey is such a strong and true comment. And so having the support network whether it's through a network like Momentum or the mentor or coach to challenge your beliefs is incredible. Just two things that I think I'd maybe add to what you're saying is the business plan and the robust nature of it is incredibly important, as is the focus. So where that business plan is focused, and we've talked about lead generation, we've talked about the target market, the who, and we do quite a lot of work on our some of the stuff we do on that, identifying that market, challenging it, and going further from, I want to target SMEs. Okay, where, what size, how many employees, any particular industries. Let's really know, and then let's turn that into an actual list of 1,000 names with businesses and email addresses, because once you've got that, you are so much better placed to develop your sales strategy that involves marketing materials or various customer or prospect collateral that you want to send out that's helpful, because you can you know what the need is. So that's what I think is really important, but also not always there. That focus and that tangible business plan that's written isn't always done. I think it's a really important part. One of the things that so I'm doing for my sins, I have got one of my DIP exams next week and the coursework that goes with it, because I thought that half term would be a great time to put that in. But in doing some of the revision, one of the things struck me from the book, and it says, it's talking about customer service in a marketing perspective. So the type of collateral you're giving your customers and the information and the whether it's video content, written content, whatever it is, but genuinely being of value, and how that's part of your customer service. And the way I kind of see marketing is prospect service. So it's the same idea behind it. And sometimes I think marketing's a bit of a dirty word and a bit of it's woolly, fluffy stuff. But if you were to spin it into a customer service, prospect service ideology, then you can almost see the benefit a lot easier. Yeah, sorry, went off on a bit of a tangent there.
No, you're right. I mean, you've got to know what you're going to say no to. That's probably more important than saying yes. So, it's, getting that neatly defined for yourself, because time is so precious. You can spend so much time going down some rabbit hole that's going nowhere. So easily done. We've all been there, haven't we? I've done it a lot. But as my business, I don't have to kind of mess around with that. I get to choose.
That's the benefit.
Sarah, I was going to say, Rob, the challenging and being hard on a business plan isn't so much about being critical. It's about ultimately giving everyone the best chance of success. And, going back to what you said before, Rob, about learning what to say no to is really, really critical. Very much like Momentum knows what we are right for in regards to the type of brokers and how we can support them. I'm sure the same thing applies to you in regards to how you engage with your prospects and clients and what works for you.
Can I just to take a slightly different direction, I'm quite interested. So obviously Momentum give quite a lot of support in terms of the initial business planning and challenging that to make sure that it is watertight. What additional support do you get from, right, your business plan is good, let's take the next step? What the practical kind of implications? What have you found useful, Rob? Alistair, what's your part in it?
Well, for me, I mean, I came from a brokerage using Actuaries. So in terms of systems, that was helpful to be, I think Actuaries probably is the sort of largest broker platform out there. And actually is, I mean, I've never been the greatest system user, I have to say, but I have learned a lot about, using the system to get the best from it. So that's been useful for the smaller stuff that I ended up doing. I can literally just load something on and get a quote, which is something that I hadn't done in previous roles at all. But the system is great. But the moment I hit any kind of bump in the road and phone someone up, they show me what to do, or they do it for me, which is probably even better. So I've got 6 people that are on my effectively my account handling crew. So when I've been challenged by clients to say, well, it's just you. It's like, well, no, it's not just me. If you look at my website, you'll see there's 6 of us. So there are people who can speak to you very comprehensively about each market, each insurer, when you want to get that type of information. So that's all great.
I mean, picking up from what Rob was talking about, the added services which Momentum provides, it's really quite flexible. It's looking at, if we take Rob as an example, what support Rob needs. Does he need additional marketing support? I mean, the brand design we helped with, website development, to be fair, HR support, if he's looking at recruiting, help with taking on premises, acquisition funding if that's required. It really is endless in regards to the additional services and support which we offer.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't say that actually, but Dom, who works in the marketing team, he sorted out the whole of my website. So all I did was come up with a name, and then he got the logo. He did all of that, and yeah, so talk about take a worry away, because that's so important to get that right. And I think they got fed up with my particular nitpicking and OCD about it, but it's that was all available to me, which was great.
In terms of
another part I was going to add there, Sarah, about setting up a brokerage is a great business plan is a good start, but there's a lot of other bits and pieces that come into play, such as timing, the financial support that you need or don't need, dealing with covenants and understanding the impact of those and the potential implications involved in respect to those, because no two covenants are the same. It really is quite endless in regards to the whole support package and the support we provide leading up to the actual start date or picking the timing for when the start date will be.
What about placement strategy? So presumably you have a strategic placement strategy. How much flexibility is there for your brokers to, place within your strategy and or outside?
One of the things which has become apparent to us is having the depth of insurer agencies. I can't recall how many hundred insurer agencies we've got, but there's obviously a need to make sure that we have got that depth, because every single one of our partners' needs is different, as are their clients. So like any other broker, we have worked incredibly hard at building strength of relationships with our insurer partners. But at the same time, we ensure that winning and retaining clients with the right cover is paramount to any placement strategy which we have in place.
Do you have any MGAs within your group, or are you purely brokers?
Certainly do, and we find them very, very useful and very supportive in regards to our business model. And certainly, I don't think Momentum would be where it is today without the support of MGAs.
I did a podcast with Peter Cullen way back in the beginning of the Insurance Broker podcast. And one of the things he was talking about was the underwriting function being lending itself well to AI and automating that kind of function. Do you as a group do any sort of R&D into that type of technology and the changes that may or may not be coming, that people keep saying are coming over the next 10, 20 years?
As a group, obviously, Actress is pretty central to most things which we do as a business. And I know Actress themselves are working with insurers on elements of that. Not specifically are we looking at AI. However, we definitely have seen a shift from some insurers talking around using data specifically to help underwrite, and for instance, removing average and looking at adequate sum insureds where appropriate. But yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, are all of your partners ARs, and do you have any support if they want to go directly authorized?
All of our partners are appointed reps. That is the business which we're involved in, and it works incredibly well. So we do, as partners grow, have conversations around becoming directly authorised, and we have had people head that way in due course, and we wish them very, very well. Everybody's, I suppose, needs and demands of running their own business differs. So Rob's requirements will be very, very much different from the next guy or girl. And it's just important that obviously you understand what their ambitions and desires are, and flex the level of support to meet those expectations.
How many partners do you have at the moment within Momentum, if that's not a contentious question?
No, it's not a question. No. We're about 80 at the moment. Yeah.
Fabulous. And what are within Momentum? What are your sort of trajectories, and how you must do the same kind of business planning that we all do in our own kind of unique sectors? Do you have any particular challenges that the current environment are has kind of given you, or opportunities?
From an opportunity perspective, there is no shortage of opportunity at the moment. We're seeing a huge amount of interest in starting brokerages. For us, it really comes down to quality over quantity. It's about getting the right people that culturally fit and work with Momentum, and vice versa. So we don't really have an ambition in respect of number of ARs. It's about the quality of, and obviously making sure there's continued mutual benefit for all parties.
I think that's fabulous. And it sounds, Rob, like you've had a phenomenal journey over the last 12 months. And I wish you all the best for the next 5, 10, however many years that you keep going on it. So it's been really, really lovely to speak to you both.
Thanks, Sarah. Good luck with your DIP CII. I'm impressed.
Yeah, I have procrastinated for the best part of 18 months. I'm now hitting the outer edges of you've got to get this done or you're going to lose it. So I put the date in my diary without looking at half-term dates, and we'll ride that fun boat for the next 7 days and hopefully pass it, and all will be good.
And now that it's on the podcast, there's no pressure.
That's right, it's out there.
Yes, anybody listening, if you message me this time next week, Monday the 26th, I'll let you know whether it went well or not.
Excellent.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, both of you, for your time.
Thanks, Sarah. It's been good,
Okay.
good to chat.
Yes,